The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers or Rogers TV.
Welcome to South Asian Live. I'm your host, Yudhvir Jaswal. There is one common religion as far as the South Asians are concerned. Yes, the common religion is cricket. And non-stop cricket action is on right now. We have the Asia Cup going on. Certainly we'll have the T20 World Cup from 16th of March and also the non-stop entertainment of IPL. Other than that, we've had the recent series of India versus New Zealand. The current series is ongoing between Australia versus South Africa. To talk all about this, we have a very special guest tonight with us, Wasim Parker, who's not only a cricket analyst but also a very brilliant writer. Wasim ji, welcome to the South Asian Live.
Thank you so much, Yudhvir. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
And I think, you know what, when we talk about cricket, I know there's a common religion in the South Asians, and also there's a lot of discussion going on in GTA.
Yes.
And there were many, you know, who were telling me you do shows on different things, and this is South Asian Live.
Yeah.
At least bring in a cricket show which all of us can connect.
Yeah.
So my first question to you would be, let's talk about the recent performances of India and Pakistan. To
Okay.
begin with, I want to talk about India.
Okay.
New Zealand, which is not even the top 5 ranked team, whether it is ODI or T20 or the test status,
Right.
and they have beaten India 4-0. Let's talk about the ODIs first.
Okay. Yeah, it was quite a surprising performance, especially in recent history, at least under Saurav Ganguly, Rahul Dravid, and in fact even under Mahendra Singh Dhoni. The last route to New Zealand for India was very successful in both one days and tests. New Zealand, of course, historically India tends to struggle abroad. That being said, New Zealand is one of those rare venues where, at least since the 2000, India have performed very well. So losing the ODI series 4-0 was a very, very big surprise. And for fans of Indian cricket, it definitely was a big disappointment. That being said, I think, Yudhvir, it is really important, and both of us love cricket. I think it's important to look at it from the perspective of New Zealand as well. In some ways, as a neutral, it's good to see a team like New Zealand, you know, with so many greats in the past history. It's good to see them rising up. They're hosting the World Cup next year. They have some exciting players. If you look at the build-up before India series, New Zealand played really well against West Indies. In fact, Corey Anderson and Jesse Ryder scored the 2 fastest centuries in one-day cricket in one game. Yeah. So New Zealand are also an improving team, so some credit should be given to them. That being said, India did underperform in the ODIs, especially a lot of the batsmen. I mean, our bowling is our weakness. That's a fact. We can't hide that. No matter, here and there they'll perform well. At home maybe they'll perform better, but our bowling is a weakness. But what was disappointing in the one days was maybe a little bit of Dhoni's captaincy was a bit defensive as well, and our batting underperformed, which was a big surprise.
Big surprise. Before we move on discussing more with the Indian cricket team, since you're talking so much about New Zealand, I couldn't agree more with that.
Yeah.
Because New Zealand, I think when the West Indies team, you know, they went to New Zealand, they said, okay, guys, you're the world champions in T20. Okay,
Yes.
we're going to beat you 2-0. India, you're the world champions in ODI, we're going to beat you 4-0.
Yes.
So both the world champions, they've defeated clean sweep.
Yes.
So full marks to New Zealand for that. But I'm still questioning, like, the performance of India. You know what, 4-0, I mean, if it would have been, you know, 3-2, or at least 4-1, or at least one odd match India would have won, or at least there was, you know, some sort of, you know, consolation that yes, India is competing. But
Yes.
I'm surprised, I mean, a clean sweep for India.
Yeah, and it follows up on another disappointing ODI series. Even in South Africa, they lost 2-0. I will temper the negativity a bit by saying that, generally speaking, 2013 was a great year in the ODI. I think India winning the Champions Trophy in England. Now, you might remember before the series started, everyone was like, English conditions, India's not going to perform.
Right.
We went undefeated and won a global ICC tournament.
Right.
Fantastic achievement. The home series against India in the ODIs, fantastic achievement. You know, we had some great chases, although the bowling of both teams, to be completely frank, was pathetic. India and Australia, 350 was a joke in that series.
Yeah.
But India won that series, very significant achievement. So overall 2013 was successful, but the 2 tours of South Africa and New Zealand were very disappointing, and the think tank has something to do, especially with the World Cup also away in New Zealand and Australia. Traditionally, India's not performed well in away World Cups, except South Africa 2003. That was the last time India performed well in an away World Cup. So there are definitely some doubts, some worries. The bowling is a big issue. I think when a team scores 350 and the opposition still has a chance, that's a major, major concern.
And I think, why do you think that we won in the Champions Trophy there in England. I know the top three performed really well, and
Yes.
the bowling also clicked sometimes.
Yes.
But other than that, do you think what was the major difference if you had to highlight that yes, we won the Champions Trophy because of this reason,
Yeah.
and now we're losing overseas, whether it was South Africa or New Zealand, because of this reason?
Well, as I alluded to, a little bit of credit has to go to New Zealand and South Africa. For example, in the South Africa series, it's so exciting as a cricket lover, whichever team it be, whether it be India, Pakistan, South Africa, West Indies, Australia, when a youngster comes on the scene and does something special, there's that excitement. So you've got to give credit in the South Africa series. Quinton de Kock, 3 consecutive one-day centuries as a 20-year-old is phenomenal. It's a phenomenal achievement. So some credit has to be given to the opposition as well. But also, and this is a big issue right now in cricket, except South Africa, traveling away from home. Nowadays, we don't have warm-ups on tours, we don't have warm-up matches. It takes a while in acclimatizing. So in acclimatizing, sometimes you just lose 2 matches because they're new conditions. That being said, 4-0, of course, was still a little too heavy. I wouldn't be too critical. There's areas to improve, but there's some strengths also in India with Virat Kohli, Shikhar Dhawan. Rohit Sharma underperformed in the one-day series, and that was disappointing. Dhoni himself underperformed. So those were, I think, some of the main reasons India lost that series.
So since you've named Dhoni, I think that was my next question. Now let's talk about his captaincy. There's a lot
Yes.
of debate, a lot of discussions. I think every former cricketer,
Yeah.
from Sunil Gavaskar to Saurav Ganguly, they've
Yeah.
made their own comments. But I want to hear it from you.
Right.
Well, let's talk about Mahendra Singh Dhoni's captaincy.
Right. Oh, in regards to Test cricket captaincy,
Let's talk
or
about
limited?
let's talk about Test cricket first.
Okay, in Test cricket, I think Dhoni does have some serious issues. First of all, while bowling, okay, our bowling is our weakness, no doubt about it. But constantly setting defensive fielders on the boundary. For example, 94 for 5. Now, I don't care how weak your bowling is. At 94 for 5, when New Zealand needs another 120 runs just to avoid innings defeat, just to avoid an innings defeat, 94 for 5. You're having fielders on, long off, square leg. And you allow a batsman like Brendan McCullum to play defensively, take singles easily when you're in a match-winning position. I was quite bemused and quite surprised by that. I was really disappointed by Dhoni's captaincy in that series. I also think in terms of batting, he hasn't contributed in the Test team for a while. He had that magnificent double century against Australia and Chennai.
Right.
But other than that, his batting has left a lot to be decided in the Test team. As an ODI and 2020 captain, I still think he's phenomenal. The record speaks for itself. Sometimes subcontinental fans, whether it be India, Pakistan, or Sri Lanka, one loss is just unbearable for us. I don't think he should be removed from that. But Rahul Dravid said give Dhoni 1 more year as Test captain, but then we have to look at some other alternatives, and I agree with him.
Do you agree? And even Saurav Ganguly mentioned that if this wasn't a World Cup year, Dhoni should have been removed from the Test captaincy. Why are we tying up, Rahul Dravid and Saurav Ganguly, why are they tying up this World Cup? Because this is just about ODI cricket.
That's right.
Right? So why are we tying up? I think we should immediately replace, because no other team has the same captain in all the 3 formats.
Right.
And especially the kind of schedule India has.
Yeah.
And with the IPL also being played in India, then
Right.
Dhoni has to captain the Chennai Super Kings teams in their different leagues. So I would say yes, we should have different captains for different formats.
Yeah, I think there's certainly merit in that, especially when you look at it. Majority of the cricketing world does that, so there's certainly a logic to it. I'll play devil's advocate over here, just for the fun of it, and I'll say this: that Dhoni should be replaced in Test cricket. I think, and I think the time's not far. That being said, we don't necessarily have a viable alternative. Virat Kohli is a very exciting captain. That being said, there are some tactical limitations. Even if you look at his captaincy stint at Royal Challengers Bangalore, with a team with Chris Gayle, A.B. de Villiers, Virat Kohli himself, Tilakaratne Dilshan, for the past 3 years, they didn't make the playoffs. That's an indictment on Virat Kohli's captaincy. He's been a captain of such an explosive batting lineup, and they haven't made the playoffs. So there's no guarantee that he'll translate that successfully on the international stage, let alone Test stage. He could be a hit, he could be a flop, but there'll be an element of chance. So I think we're waiting to groom a viable alternative, and once the viable alternative is established, I think then we can proceed with more confidence in changing the captain. I think in India and Pakistan, we've always preferred stability in our teams, and that's probably the main reason why. Although there might be some very strong arguments to remove him right now, I can see why they're sticking with him as well.
Yeah, but Virat Kohli won the ODI series, and then I think he's already captained around 8 ODIs.
Yes.
And we've won all of those. We haven't lost any one of them.
Right, yeah, and that's an impressive record. But Test cricket is a different kettle of fish altogether. Even if you look at the recent South Africa Australia series, Test cricket is a kind of game at 120 for no loss. You might think, oh, the batting team's doing really well. Dale Steyn comes, ball's a magical spell.
Yeah.
Game over. Right. So because he hasn't even because of India's international calendar, a lot of India, what we don't realize, is especially the established players like Dhoni, Kohli, and so on, they haven't played a lot of Ranji Trophy cricket. So Kohli actually hasn't captained too much in Ranji Trophy.
Right.
So I can see there being doubts. I have no doubt that eventually he'll become a great captain or good captain. Great is used too easily.
Yeah.
He'll be a good captain, but
Yeah.
we don't know for sure right now.
Running out of time, and Virat Kohli certainly captained the India under-19 team to the Cricket World Cup victory.
Yeah.
I think that also goes to his credit. But you're right, he hasn't done very well as far as IPL is concerned. The
Yeah.
discussion will carry on. We have to take a very, very short break right here. You're watching South Asian Live, and you can give your comments 905-848-5483. 905-848-5483. We'll be back after a very short break. The poll question for today: who will win the Asia Cup 2014? The answer: A. India, B. Sri Lanka, C. Bangladesh, D. Pakistan, and E. Afghanistan.
The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers or Rogers TV.
Welcome back to South Asian Live. I'm your host Yudhvir Jaswal. We are talking about the recent performances of Indian cricket team, and we'll be discussing how the Pakistan team has performed in the recent times. The Asia Cup is on right now. We will be talking about the T20 World Cup, which is starting on 16th of March. The excitement is on for that as well, and also how has Mahendra Singh Dhoni performed in the recent time. The debate is on for his captaincy, whether we should leave him as a captain or whether we should change him as far as the test format is concerned. I think the ODI and T20, saying welcome back. I don't
Thank
think
you.
so there are any issues about the ODI and T20.
Yes.
Only discussion going on is regarding the test captaincy.
Yeah.
But my question to you is, I didn't see, Mahendra Singh Dhoni getting injured or hurt. He's announced that, he was hurt because he was even bowling in the last test match. And,
Yeah.
once you have a sprain, I
Yes.
doubt you can really start the bowling when he told
Yeah.
Virat Kohli to do the wicket keeping.
Right. Well, it could be. I think with the cricket calendar that India plays, India and England, and I think a big reason why you can see some similarities between the series losses that these two teams have had. I think a big reason, which sometimes as casual fans we can't appreciate, is fatigue. oftentimes injuries are not so obvious to see. So I think when Dhoni is saying he's injured and he needs some rest, let's say hypothetically that his injury isn't really as severe as he's saying, as the board is claiming, the notion of Dhoni having some rest, taking some time off, isn't in the worst interest of Indian cricket whatsoever. So I'm not too fussed necessarily about that question. What I want to ask you is this, Yudhvir, is do you find, I look at it as a double-edged sword. I think sometimes Dhoni being calm helps India a lot. Some great moments that India have had, you know, even when people criticize, how did he give this bowler? Joginder Sharma, 2007, last over. People are like, why is this guy bowling the last over? India won. You know, he makes some odd decisions. So sometimes that calmness works. But I also think sometimes when he's calm, he's a little aloof. You know, you look at some captains, they go, they inspire, right? They cajole their players. Dhoni doesn't do that. Do you think his calmness is an advantage or a disadvantage?
I think his calmness is an advantage sometimes because in tough conditions you need to be calm. But I think, as you rightly mentioned, in test match that happened recently, I think just because he was too cool, or at sometimes I feel that he was not even interested in that.
He does look disinterested many times.
He does look disinterested, and you know, especially when you are on, you should be more and more aggressive. So at a time when your field placement should be very aggressive, that is the time I think he lacks field placement. This is not the first time I've seen that. You know what? I got a chance to see a match in Australia in 2011. That was the time that I could see there was no communication with the seniors. You would have Lakshman, you would have Rahul Dravid and Sachin Tendulkar standing in the slips, and Mahendra Singh Dhoni was, you know, just he was standing there, no communication whatsoever. And then on top of that, the first test match that happened in Melbourne, what I could see, you know what the commentators were saying, oh, you know, in the second innings we needed 280. Oh, this is just enough, only Virender Sehwag would do that. And suddenly the aggression was missing and India lost that match. Even after that, there was no communication, fielders are standing at long on, long off. And I think that aggression was missing. I don't know what was the reason. Initially, I thought